Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Uh, as you all know, that Industry 4.0 is a holistic automation, business information, and manufacturing execution architecture to improve industry with the integration of all aspects of production and commerce across company boundaries for greater efficiency. The term Industry 4.0 originated in Germany, but the concepts are in harmony with worldwide initiatives, including smart factories, industrial Internet of Things, smart manufacturing, and advanced manufacturing. So, what is manufacturing 4.0 in the new normal? Let's hear it from our expert panel. Let me welcome Mr. Uday Naran, Chairman Omega City Mobility,
Thank you.
Mr. Vivek Sharma, Managing Director India, Lenovo ISG,
Hello, everyone.
Mr. Jagdish Gande, EVP Manufacturing and Technology, Piaggio Vehicles Private Limited,
Hello, everyone.
Mr. Sekhar Udaymurthy, co-founder and CEO, Jidoka Technologies.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, let me begin this discussion asking this particular question. What conditions make Industry 4.0 feasible? And I'll open this floor for all of you. Let me start with Mr. Udaynarayan.
Look, I think it's gratifying to see widespread Industry 4.0 progress, in this country, as the fourth industrial revolution is pivotal for fulfilling the promises of digital manufacturing or automation. Ensuring success requires a pragmatic approach and organizational alignment in securing connective solutions that drive operational efficiency while boosting manufacturing flexibility and reducing cost. So this is an extremely important part, and I think as we go through this call, I'll be able to give a lot of my input. Thank you so much.
Okay. Mr. Sharma, your thought on it.
Well, in today's world, every company organization, though operating in different conditions, still face a common challenge, which is the need for connectedness and access to real-time insights. And this has to be across process, partners, products, and people. And I think that is where the Industry 4.0 fills in, fits in completely to fill in the gap.
All right. Mr. Gande, your take on it?
Yeah, what I will say is manufacturing 4.0 is a technology which is happening and coming. The technologies are having its own speed. It's our readiness, how we quickly adapt. And in my opinion, the Industry 4.0 for us, particularly automobile, is we need to adapt fast. The need has arisen more because of pandemic situation what we have faced. And we all have realized that the whole business situation have been changed. And the business situation demands for the high flexibility and the more technology-savvy products, as well as I think we will be discussed further. But the solutions what technology 4.5, manufacturing 4.0 is providing are the things which will make the manufacturing more feasible to meet the upcoming, the business challenges.
Lovely. Mr. Udaymurthy, what is your take on it?
Sure. Thank you, Rahul. So, my view, this is a two-phased, adoption, right? One is about resiliency for the short term, like in the COVID world. How do you get back, and how do you manufacture? And the second phase is the long-term digital transformation, right? And as the panel put it out, there are various methods and capabilities that are enabled, based on which the outcomes and the benefits of Industry 4.0 is achieved, and we'll talk more about it as we go on the road.
Lovely, lovely. Now, since these answers have set the tone for this panel discussion, let me bring your attention to this particular report by McKinsey. A recent McKinsey report stated that the early adopters of Industry 4.0 have reported a stronger ability to respond to the COVID-19 crisis. Now, you all are in the manufacturing sector, and how true is this for your organization? And what processes enable you to respond better to the pandemic? Let me start with Mr. Vivek Sharma, and then we can take it further.
Well, This actually, although you talked about it from an industry 4.0 perspective on early adopters, this is not true for manufacturing alone. I think across industries and across verticals, people who are better prepared, or had the processes and technology enablement did respond faster and better to it overall. Like Mr. Gandhi mentioned earlier, the solutions for some of the things that we are talking about today were already available. And, the simplest one that comes to mind in an overall environment was work from home, but if you look at from a 4.0 perspective for analytics, for IoT, edge computing, cloud, some of these solutions have been around for quite some time. The adoption varied, from organization to organization, industry to industry. If you look at Lenovo's own case, for example, we have a global supply chain and a global manufacturing capability. And some of the things that we had already put in place from a supply chain perspective was usage of AI, which helps us to manage inventory, predict what is needed, because ours is a very, very dynamic business dependent on, in certain cases, a consumer demand in a PC and a desktop business, and in the core businesses, based on a trend, because you have to marry it to the commodity supplies on memory and things like that. So we already had it in place. I think what happened was that we became more resilient because of those solutions already in place. And as we move forward, we are making it even more integrated. So depending on what a customer wants, it can come from a plant, that is maybe nearest to him or where that inventory is already available.
Super. Mr. Naran, what is how you are responding to this pandemic through Industry 4.0? Mr. Naran?
Very clear about. And over the years, the sector has created endless number of opportunities for all stakeholders. However, like any other industry, the sector consumes a great amount of resources by generating a lot of waste. This is something, I'm getting more and more into green energy, to sustainability, and that's leading to environmental damage. This is extremely important as business houses that we need to start looking at. It's imperative that manufacturing industries strive for sustainable manufacturing, and that has to happen on an immediate basis. Look, I'm going to sound more as a green, in this call, but being a businessman is also being about protecting our environment and green. Shifting the approach of obviously the Indian automobile companies, specifically post COVID-19 era, where companies now have started to move beyond ROI-based calculations for automation. Labor in India is quite cheap as you look compared to internationally. And just the labor cost cannot make compelling business cases for adoption of robotics and automation. We're all talking about this, unlike in Europe, US, Singapore, and other parts of the world. While sustaining, go ahead, I'm sorry, Rahul.
No, I said absolutely correct.
While sustaining manufacturing in India, obviously still at a nascent stage, we've moved a long way. And again, I'm going to give you a very global perspective because I come from a very global background. I spent 35 years between US and Europe. It has gradually adopting lean and, green measures such as optimizing energy, raw material use, resource and machine efficiency, and implementing an environmental friendly practice to a positive, impact. By linking innovation, this is what we're doing, and technology automation, several manufacturers, including us, are reducing energy costs, limiting waste generation, and lowering emissions, and eliminating the risk of environmental damage. This is an extremely important point that all of us today and in the future need to follow. Business have to realize that, to keep the supply chain, the efficiency, and to meet the demand and manage the customer expectations in terms of fast and accurate delivery, is not the only solution. Once you have to reach a particular scale, you cannot operate it manually. It's not possible to do this. We're finding this in all of our fields of business. Automation on a huge scale can help the companies like to offer reliability to customers, which is extremely important. India is changing considerably. In short, automation is the answer to scale and flexibility of operations. Companies have a large number of R&D, SKUs, and are handling in multiple formats. And I'm thinking many of these people on this panel have similar. At OSM, we believe automation is a marathon, not a sprint. We got to continually do it at a time of consuming and strategy-based investment to be a future, to be ready for the future. Despite what, widespread adoption of robotic automation in some areas of manufacturing, more extensive use of robots is often slow in our country, and even blocked by inability to justify investments. We all look at it. Everyone needs to see their product lines and analyze where efficiency is needed the most. Everyone cannot make a huge investment. We talk about all of this, but it requires different mind space. And this cannot be done overnight. In India, we want everything overnight. We want to be like US, or we want to be like Europe. So, it'll take time, but a step-by-step is approach. And we're taking that. And I'm thinking many of these panelists are taking that too.
Mr. Sekhar, what is your take on it? How your organization is dealing with, or rather I say responding to this situation with the use of Industry 4.0 initiatives?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Rahul. So, we Jidoka Technologies are in the field of providing automation for quality control and manufacturing organizations, right? And in this context, the early adopters of these technologies have seen a 33% increase in throughput, a 10% increase in accuracy of the products manufactured, and 30% decrease in false positives, thereby giving an ROI within 15 months. And to the point that Mr. Uday made, right? So you don't have to have large kind of investments to make these kinds of progress, right? And leveraging artificial intelligence, we are able to provide that kind of kind of output to the customers. And I think that is the way to go. Leveraging robotics, leveraging AI, and using that on the shop floor to digitize your shop floor is the way to go. And our customers who are early adopters are definitely seeing the benefits of it.
Super, Mr. Sekhar. Mr. Gande, now it's your turn.
Yeah, I think I will little bit explain you what changed the situation. Okay, the requirement automation and going for manufacturing 4.0 is absolutely was a known thing, but the pandemic accelerated it. How I will tell you. And generally for automobile industry, it coincided with the two things. One is in the March 20, we were transiting from BS4 to BS6. So itself, it was a big disturbance and a disruption, you can say, to managing the inventories and launching the new technology. So whole automobile was going through this transition, and at the same time, this pandemic happened. What it created for us as a manufacturer, there was a sudden stoppage, which as a manufacturing industry, we were never used to. Maximum 1 or 2 days or 3-4 days, we will stop in Diwali holiday. No time manufacturing stops. We continuously work. Now, suddenly the factories were not ready for, getting closed for so much of time. And then when to start and how to start was a big question. So as you said that the people who were already technology savvy or having a good manufacturing setup could manage the situation well. So as far as at Piaggio, if I can I used to tell my people, we are already smart as our manufacturing. We have a lot of automations and modern technologies in the plant. But what is required now to become more smarter? And why? Because we were, as the whole technology setup was available, we could start our plant after 44 days of complete shutdown to start the plant on the next day without having any loss on account of machines or the non-availability something. So that itself speaks about the setup of the whole. So always I take a pride at Piaggio that we started the plant after 44 days as if it was closed for Sunday only. So that whole credit goes to the systems and the technology placed. But what this pandemic also told us that in this whole period, we were all connected by this or the other way. We were connected with our suppliers or employees. Each one we were connected virtually and things were moving other than physical manufacturing. Everything was affected. So this new way of working was realized in this phase. That staying connected was definitely much, though it is a soft part of it, but to start without any break has helped. And then the connectivity, the importance of connectivity, which manufacturing 4.0 has been already explaining, is the need of the hour. It's not only the humans, the machines also need to be connected because now again, because as the business situation is changed, the BS4, BS6. In export, the BS4 still works. And then there is, on the manufacturing platform, there are a huge variety now.
Mm-hmm.
And the market is going up and down. The plans are suddenly changed. So you need to feed what market is requiring.
Correct.
So those days are gone, that 3 months MRP and all that. So you need to give what is required tomorrow. So sudden changes in the plan, short batches, and definitely the business is at the difficult time. So cost efficiency is the most important.
Correct. Correct.
Cost efficiency with such a stretched condition is a challenge. And as Mr. was explaining, this cannot happen without the help of technology.
But I want to ask you one basic question in this, what you have said is, how is the procurement challenge? You said, in fact, the entire country was shut for so many months, and obviously the logistics was not happening, the supply chain was disturbed. So how you all manage the entire procurement chain? Let me have Mr. Gandhi to answer that.
This is the toughest area, and till date this nightmare is on, let me tell you.
Okay.
Because we do a lot of imports, and in imports you have a 3-month schedule aligned. A lot of things come from China, and so it started disturbing right from February.
Okay.
And so we have gone overboard for managing the with the special flights, and even I think through CI we manage for the special flights from China. So we have gone overboard to procure the material.
Okay.
Plans were there for BS6 also, and then this was 31st is March is the financial year closing, and in that peak activities we were asked to stop. Now, no of the material continued, no manufacturing stopped. So naturally your inventories have gone up.
Right.
When you have a financial, your manufacturing is not happening. Your dealerships are closed, and you are coming in. Without doing anything, going high.
Let me bring in Mr. Naran. I just asked Mr. Gandhi about the entire procurement process. Everything was shut, the logistics, the supply chain was disturbed. So how do you manage, the entire supply chain activities with the help of Industry 4.0, their procurement process? If you could tell us.
Sure. Look, we are using artificial intelligence. We are using systems. We are involved in, we have a steel business. We have an infrastructure business. We have OSM, which is Omega Seki Mobility. There is so many chains. There's so much, in every line of our businesses that we are continuously working on developing new systems. We are using technology. See, technology is our friend at the end of the day. One thing is very clear. In the new world and post-COVID world, we all have to accept technology. There will be different levels of, level of technology. A level of 4 point, it'll depend, as I say, in England, we used to say different horses for different courses. Every horse doesn't run on the same, and this is very important that in India, every track is so different. And, I've spent a lot of time in India now, the first time in my life, over the last 35 years due to COVID. And I'm finding in the South, it's completely different. In the West, it's completely different, right? And we've got to continually change our environment. We've got to develop systems. We've got to use technology. We've got to use our people. See, acceptability, forcing technology on people that are not willing to accept. That's another problem. So it requires, in India, we can say from the top level, we want to do this. And if the lower level and the management level doesn't take it, then it is just talk, right? So it requires a complete buy-in from everybody in the industry, including specifically in our companies. We have opened up, we've had teams where teams have come in with ideas where we've implemented, some have worked, some have not worked. This is a continuous, I keep saying I'm very much in this, I'm an old man, but I'm very much into sports. It's a marathon. We've got to continually develop new technologies, new systems, look at what works in other countries. But that doesn't always fit. We've got to tailor-made it to our own country and our own company and our own region. This is a continuous approach. And we at Anglian Omega Group and at all of our companies are continuously working on it. Guys, it's just, for me, this is the need of the hour. And I think what you see in the new India, every day I hear there's a new unicorn and there's a new thing. I mean, we've got young gentlemen, we're all, I'm sorry, I'm the, you guys are young, but I'm the oldest guy here in terms of, but I'm saying every young guy, he wants to build a unicorn. In one way, I really love it. I love the energy that everybody who says, you know what, I ain't going to be playing in the local league. I want to play World Cup, right? Everybody these days, which develops a lot of new ideas, new technologies. But on the other hand, we've got to have gray-haired guys like us who have seen the experience, who've had the experience, and drive it through our companies.
Like Mr. Sharma, I guess you would be the best one to tell about your procurement strategy, because since everybody is working from home, the demand for laptops the computers have gone up. So how did you manage to bridge the gap of the procurement, the supply chain through Industry 4.0? So
you can hear me now? Yeah, let me break it up into two parts. One is what happened during the COVID, because I don't think anybody was prepared, for factories and offices and dealerships being closed all at the same time. I mean, I come from a technology background, so, people had data centers, disaster recovery centers, but what are you going to do if you can't go to the office or to the factory? So that was one part of it. And as factories started opening, overall, so, I'll break it up into two parts. As this passes, and we, will step into the new part. And the first question that you asked is on how we cope with it. Like I mentioned, we have a globally integrated supply chain, and our manufacturing is global in nature. It's spread across continents overall. So if, one plant is not able to function, can the other one? And you have to have, an asset tracking system in place. Your procurement systems have to be smart and predictive on, how the pattern in the back to purchase for the future and manufacture for the future overall. So for us, some of those systems are already in place, and that was a big help overall. But however, as we move out and, people call it a new normal or a smart new normal, the factories are smart factories, but it's actually an integrated ecosystem, so from a manufacturing perspective, as I think as we step out of the post-COVID world into a new smart normal, there are three things that would, will be very, very crucial. And if I can break it, I think the first would be, the supply chain management and optimization. Because you have to have a leverage of supply chain management capabilities to make and deliver products faster and cheaper, but with better quality, which gives you a gain. The second would be, and this could be within your manufacturing, predictive maintenance and analytics. And this is predicting on the manufacturing workflow on potential problems, that may arise, but predicting them before they hit you. With IoT and edge solutions in place, that's going to be a big, big game changer.
Right.
And combine it with analytics, so you have a automated process to this, which makes sure that there are minimum disruptions in your manufacturing site. And I think the last one, and that also is, from a perspective of, on the shop floor, asset tracking and optimization. Because manufacturers have to become more efficient, tracking assets at each stage of their supply chain.
Right.
This is only for, you as a manufacturing unit or as an organization. But I think the whole ecosystem would need to change. For example, if your suppliers will not keep up with the automation that you're going to do, then there is a break in the system, isn't it? So the whole ecosystem from a perspective of a potential connectedness for the whole operations, so this will be inventory and planning, financials, customer relationship, supply chain management, management and manufacturing execution. The whole thing has to come together.
Right.
So I think the industry as a whole it has to gear up and step into 4.0 at a much faster pace. Because guess what? Technology is no longer an enabler.
Right.
In executed well, it is the difference between your, your success or failure.
All right. Now, next question could be my next question could be the topic of debate. If you talk about SMEs and looking at the current conditions, many factories are not yet ready to take the plunge to 4.0. Maybe because of financial issues and etc. But my question is it necessary or even wise to take that leap considering the costs? So let me ask Mr. Sekar about it.
Thank you for that, Rahul. And I think question that last point that Mr. Vivek made, like it's a difference between survival and being good, right? And I think companies have to. And in our experience, the companies have started the journey maybe at a different pace than the larger companies, right? So they have starting with softwareization of the automation, or they are going into decision of the shop floor. But the journey has started. The pace probably differs from the larger customers.
Okay, Mr. Narayan, what is your suggestion? I mean, should MSMEs, put those additional costs, go for Industry 4.0, put the burden on their financials and go for it? Or you think it's not necessary right now for them? Let them take the slow move ahead.
See, I'm of the view that, I don't ask the country what it can do for me. I'll ask what I can do for the country. I'm a very different, I look at a glass always full. I never look at the glass half empty. I'm always an optimistic guy. I thought, COVID from day one was a superb opportunity. With my experience over the last 35 years in Europe and America, whenever there's a fire, that's when there's an opportunity comes. So it's two ways of looking at it. So for us, I believe that, 4.0 implementation and, what MSMEs, I again say different MSMEs will have different ways of looking at it. It's not the same for everyone.
Right.
So, I think what's very important is, does it need to be done? Yes, it needs to be done. Should there be a system of implementation? Yes, there should be. I again and again say it has to be in the DNA of our organization. For me, specifically in a country like India, and the experience that I have, and the esteemed gentlemen on this panel have a much more experience than I do in this country, is that unless there is a buy-in from our people from the top to the bottom, any of this is a waste of money. So I think that is an extremely important point that we drive. Just saying do it, that's not the answer. So the answer to your question again is MSMEs should be doing it. Different companies would require different ways of looking at it. It's going to be custom. It's going to be like a suit at Savile Row. You're going to customize each. So, and I think, in my opinion, I'm not waiting for the government to do anything for me. We'll do everything ourselves. And then if the government wants, I'll give you an example. In the EV sector, we didn't wait for the government to do the subsidy. We started this journey a few years ago, right? And everybody said EVs a few years down the road. All of a sudden, every state government is out. Every municipality is talking about it. So my view in all of this is leadership role take the hard road, do the work, get the implementation. Same thing with 4.0. Implement it, take different views on it, different areas, start developing it, build teams, get buy-in. I think it'll be done. I think there's nothing possible. Our newer generation is fantastic, right? I believe India has an opportunity where we have so many young men and women that have the demand, they have the need to take and adapt, right? The mobile phone has changed everything. And we are a technology-oriented country. So I think this is a very important, way for us. MSMEs should definitely take this. This is my opinion.
Right. So as you rightly said, every horses have, for different courses, but the aim should be, the goal should be one, even if there are different courses. So let me begin, Mr. Gande, to talk about your suggestions for MSMEs. Should they go for it? Should they not? Should they take care of their costs first, or should they go for Industry 4.0 with an additional cost?
I think in the overall supply chain, each one have to participate. It's not only that the OEMs going through this and then MSMEs or SMEs are not going, because each one are we are linked together. So in my opinion, they also have to go for this along with the OEMs. Now, as far as the investment is concerned, definitely, the investment is together. One has to decide the areas of priority and you have to go step by step. And I don't think the stakes what the OEMs will have, those stakes will not be, or the amount of the investment what they will have to do, it will be accordingly also the smaller. So, and then OEMs can guide them and help them to, going ahead along with them. But togetherness is required. You cannot isolate that only the major industries will go and MSMEs or SMEs will not go through. It's not so.
All right. Mr. Sharma, your take. I thought it's all debatable, but everyone is going for just, I think in one direction. Yes, MSME should go for it. What is your take on it?
Like I mentioned earlier, and I think Mr. Gandhi just mentioned it, the connectedness of the ecosystem has to be in place. I mean, if you're a SMSME supplying to larger organizations, they may have an ask on you. And if they are one of among your largest customers, they will probably help you, pull this together overall. See, technology today is granular. And there are various ways you can consume it, right? So there will be a balance between cloud, public or private, hybrid. IoT and edge is far more advanced than what it was a couple of years, back. Similarly, solutions on ERP, supply chain. So depending on your need, the adoption will come accordingly. It's not going to be. There is no need actually for a big bang approach. You will do it granularly. You will do it based on the need of your suppliers and who you supply to, your customers, so this will have to come together. I mean, Mr. Gandhi is from automotive industries, right? So there is a lot of MSMEs around who supply this. And in the past, we've seen that where automotive industries have stepped forward, either from a dealer management perspective, from a supply chain perspective, because the whole chain has to work together. So I think from a, MSME perspective, that is what will help. The larger organizations, of course, will move their own pace, and they'll also take a decision at what stage of cycle they are.
Right.
Like I mentioned earlier, technology adoption technology is no longer an enabler. It will become a differentiator between, whether you survive or not at times overall. And it's not true for manufacturing. I think it's across industries overall. So be granular, choose wisely between consumption versus capex models that you would put in, and start small and, a roadmap, because it's not only about technology, it's also about people and process. So, you have a bigger picture and then you fill in the blanks as you go along.
Right. So all my viewers, specifically those from MSME industries, please listen to these experts. Go for it, do your Industry 4.0 and, win the race of COVID. Now, let me, take you to the next question. As key operations resume in plant, the focus will be on getting back to pre-COVID production levels. Okay, but with many more stringent regulations in place in terms of safety or hygiene, what is your organization and how you are getting back to the normal production level? Mr. Udayanarayan, can I have you your answer on the same?
So I think, as I said, we took COVID as an opportunity, and I'll be honest with you. I also, we are coming from a steel and automotive background, even though we have infrastructure business that we built in the coal space. We never looked back even day one in this pandemic. We thought, look, this is an opportunity to strengthen ourselves, to be stronger, to be able to take, develop we have invested, let me be, it's a fact. Our company is 52 years old. We have invested more money today in the last 18 months in our businesses than we have ever done. And so in the history of our company, and this is a fact, and we believed that, this was an opportunity to change ourselves. I'm into boxing, and when you get down on a mat, then you got to come back and you got to train harder and you got to come back at the whole competition, right? So our view was upgrade our systems, upgrade our factories, use this opportunity when everybody was sort of, a lot of businesses were thinking, will there be a future? Look, I've been through, the Argentinian crisis. I have seen crises in many countries. And, if you look, I'm using a few lines. They say after the storm comes the sunshine. It always does. It always does. Maybe the storm is longer. So we reinvested into our companies. We did better, employee training. We set up systems. So I don't know, for us, I've never looked at it as a slowdown. We have put on many new factories. We've hired many new technology people. We've hired many new engineers. We've upgraded our system. And so for us, it was never a thought of, this is COVID and we're going to be, the world was going to be over. The world is never over. Humanity always comes back. And so, we've used this opportunity to come back and look, the P&L and the numbers on the board will come next end of this financial year, next financial year. But that's the approach we've taken. Things are looking pretty decent. We will have these lockdowns. But that's part of life. We've got to learn to live with this COVID-19. I'm sick of people giving excuses of, and in India specifically, everyone says, oh, wo COVID ho gaya to result nahi nikle and all of that. I'm sick of that. I don't want to use those excuses. I want to say, why don't I use this and find a better result and post better numbers? And so I don't know, maybe I'm looking at a different approach, but for us, it's always been, look at this opportunity while everybody's hiding in the house. Let's go to the front line and let's deliver. So that's sort of our approach.
What's your take on it, Mr. Sharma? I mean, can we see the manufacturing companies ready for operations as per their capacity, or at least matching up to their capacity utilizations?
So again, there are two parts to this. What has happened and what is happening at the current situation, and then the other is, of course, the ramp up and what is going to happen as we move into the smart new normal. So similar to any sector, manufacturing has been disrupted, and it has been disrupted immensely. Like Mr. Magande mentioned, you never thought the factories are going to get closed for a period of time. And then it's also linked to who your customers are, right? The whole thing got disrupted overall. But so primarily, I think in the current phase of things, this will vary from manufacturing sector to manufacturing. It'll vary from vertical to vertical. There definitely is a disruption. I think businesses have got affected overall. Some sectors will bounce back much faster than others overall, and I think that will be a outcome of how things open up, and they will open up. With the vaccination drive in place, the safety measures being taken place at the workplaces and at the factory, perspective of sanitization, safe solutions, as people come in, automatic sensors for taking temperatures and things like that. So you're making the workplace safer overall. So that's one part of it. I think the second part of it is, what comes into future and how you're going to be prepared for it overall.
Yes.
So, and industry after industry, vertical after vertical, like I said, will, have a different path to it. But what may be common across is what checks and balances now you put in place, for what is coming for the future. And automation, I think, is going to be a very, very key critical part of it overall, because you'll have to get more nimble. You'll have to get more agile. You'll have to be more resilient. And, this translates to every part of a manufacturing cycle, whether it's assets, inventory, how your supply chain is integrated to you, and how you're integrated to the supply chain of your suppliers overall. This thing. So I think it'll be the marriage of two overall as we go along. But I don't think I'm the right person to say which industry is affected what. But, they will come back. Maybe Mr. Gandhi, from an automotive perspective, can comment on it a little better. But you have to prepare now for the future, and it has to be done now. You can't wait. Like Narang mentioned, they've kept it as a continuous process.
Right. Mr. Udayamurthy, what is your take on it? I mean, do you think that going forward, the companies will be ready for manufacturing as per the capacity, along with having the safety and hygiene regulation in place?
Definitely they have to, right? I think this is a new normal, and probably hopefully we're not going to have a third wave or a fourth wave, but we've got to plan for it and got to be ready. So this is a new normal, and we should learn to live with it and work with it, right? So you have your capabilities in place, and also ensure that your talent has the access and can work from wherever they are to produce the results they produce, and be kind of empathetic to them, right, as they go through these tough situations. And I think we'll come out of it.
Right. Mr. Gandhi, how was your entire manufacturing unit working? Because I guess you are missing so much.
I would like to answer this question because I was listening what Mr. Vivek Sharma was also told. See, thing is, as a manufacturer, it is most of us have adapted quickly to this new normal, and now it has become a part of our life. This whatever the regulations are there. So capacity loss on that account is not there. But due to pandemic, as I said earlier, the market before pandemic and now is entirely different. It is different in two terms. One is the product portfolios have been changed. Like one of the topic came in this discussion, the electrical vehicles demand has been going up. Similarly, there are lot many variations have been happening in the product mix. The balance between the domestic market and export market have been changed. In the when we were facing problem in the domestic market, most of the manufacturers look for export. Now again, export is also getting affected in different countries. So what has changed is from the stable environment, so far a little bit stable. Market is never stable, but still we were all used to and conditioned to one type of business. And now with this COVID, what has happened that everything is absolute dynamic. And this is where that manufacturing 4.0 comes. Manufacturing have to see that we are responding to the dynamism. We are prepared for the dynamism. And that's where the need comes that we need to change. Other plain capacities, they are there on the paper. But how fast you respond to the new need, that is a need of the hour. And there the technology play a big role.
Right. Now, I think that my next question would be again the topic of debatable, because this is all about the skill. Now, if we see, India views manufacturing as to the country's digital transformation, strategy. It adds up to the GDP, etc., etc. Now, with smart factories reimagining manufacturing jobs, there is a growing need for professionals, savvy with the emerging technologies that will lead to the digital transformation in the sector. Now, the question is how that can be achieved. Let me ask Mr. Udayanarayan.
I think, look, every one of us has to change. Every one of us has to learn. The old order changes for new. I think there's no age for us to learn. I see Japan where people at 85, 90 are continuously learning. And I think every one of us has to use technology. Every one of us has to upgrade our skills on a continuous basis, whether it be the CEOs or whether it be the person on the front line. So I think, we are seeing, the auto industry, from my opinion, is at a crossroads. We're a large steel player. We're also an automotive parts manufacturer. We're into EVs, and we took a leap into EV a few years ago. So we thought that is where 5 years or 7 years from now, the future is. I want to believe that a large part of our business is going to change. There's a school of thought that says, and maybe I'm speaking on that behalf because I'm an EV player. So maybe I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid. Time will tell that. But the markets are telling me that the value of electric companies today are much, much higher than all traditional. So we all got to change. We all got to change our way of doing things. So look, the proof in the pudding is that if we don't all change ourselves, time will change you if you don't change yourself, right? So the key point of this is, in terms of learning, every employee has to upgrade. He or she has to upgrade her skills, has to learn, has to be part. And 4.0 is a big part of telling us that all of us need to constantly upgrade. The cost of the change, we as owners should invest in our employees. I believe in that very much. Long term, there is a lot of ROI on that. Sometimes we don't see it. MSMEs at different levels needs to do it. So an upgrading of skills is continuously needed. Absolutely. I am upgrading myself every day. I've got all these young engineers, men and women who are in their 30s. And, I'm the old guy here. And they say, look, what do you know? The new technology this is what it is. So I think I am learning every day how to be better and learn from the technology. And so this is something that is extremely important in all our organizations. And for India Inc., we talk about being, a 4 trillion or a 5 trillion economy. For that to happen, everybody's skills got to be upgraded. We can't be pushing bullock carts if we want to be a 5 trillion economy.
Absolutely.
There's a lot going on where we see a large amount of, this hype of startups and all that. But we need to move everybody up, not just the rich get richer or a few people run this country. We need everybody to be part of this next move, the next 10 years for this country. We have a lot of young people. That's an advantage. But if we don't upgrade their skills, then we've lost on the game. This is my opinion.
Vivek, what's your opinion on, do you see there is a dearth of skill sets in India, or do you see that there's a lack of skilled manpower when it comes to adopting the Industry 4.0 and taking it forward? And not in the current generation, but for the future generation too. The next line of generation who is likely to induct in the manufacturing sector.
See, India, from a tech talent perspective, represents a very competent pool of globally mobile professionals. A Korn Ferry report recently talked about that this advantage rests on the expected about 1.1 million surplus of highly skilled technology professionals by 2030.
Right.
So with the right mindset and approach, I think they stand a very strong chance to benefit, from this migration overall. And, there are two parts. One is the skill adoption on what you're doing present. And the other is, of course, from a perspective of what is coming. So professionals who are well-versed in data infrastructure products, multi-cloud experts, businesses are already on the lookout for CTOs, CIOs, heads of engineering and business heads, who are responsible for the go-to-market strategies and implementation overall. And domain expertise, primarily in dynamic technologies like HPC or AI or Internet of Things, would be the need of the hour. But given the pool that we have, and given how technology itself is an enabler, because I think it's going to be a constant effort to make sure the right set of technology expertise is available across the right set of domains overall. Okay. And technology itself will be a big enabler for this. Learning.
Mr. Udayamurthy, do you see that India has got enough pool, to pull it off, India's from the age-old skill set factor to a newly skill sets imbibed into the new generation or the future generation?
Definitely so, right? And I think the key is to have the talent which can adapt and change. I think be it IoT or AI, that's what we call it today, but 2 years or 3 years from now, it's going to be something different, right? See, technology is changing very fast. So we need, and we hire people who have that, adaptability, mix them with experience, and then see great things happen, right? And so that's what we strongly believe in. And that's all. We are nurturing our talent pool, both current and the talent pool coming in, right?
Right. Now let me ask you all gentlemen one particular question, which I'm so eager to ask you. How was the overall experience working remotely? You have a manufacturing unit and you're all working remotely. I cannot imagine a manufacturing unit where there's no presence of manpower. But I can see you all have done it remotely. How was that possible? Let me ask Mr. Gandhi. You said you have started operating the entire factory in 44 days. How did you manage to do that?
That's what we all were connected every day, 24/7, because the situation was every day dynamic when you were able to start. And so connectedness was the major criteria, and we never felt, in fact, there was more hours of working than your normal working. And definitely you were missing as in-person meetings. But after over a period, we got used to it. Now, even today, nowadays, I sit away from the plant, 150 kilometers away. I conduct my supply chain meetings every day, and I don't feel I'm away from the plant. So I think here the technology have played a lot of role.
All right.
Yeah, Rahul, I wanted to say something on this manpower.
Please.
As far as the technology savvy and the people availability, I don't see the issue in India, because we have a lot of young generation who will very easily adapt to this. What Mr. Uday Naram was also telling, this is where we at a Piaggio have formulated that what way we will go ahead. So basically, definitely for us, manufacturing 4.0 is a digitization of the things. Basically, we have a lot of technology standalone at various locations in every plant. So what we need to do is make the seamless flow of the information. What this information for what? To achieve finally end of the day the efficiency, cost
Right.
competitiveness, and then consistent in a high zero defect quality. Now this comes from where? This comes from people. Now, that's why when we say digitization, we say our theme for digitization is look at digitization as an empowerment,
Right.
not replacing few people or training and learning is a part of our life. So it is basically what we have to see when you bring a technology that am I empowering or I'm just putting certain things on head of everyone, which is end of the day is a burden and not giving a efficiency. So you
Right.
have to be clear while selecting your technology. What is your objective?
Right. Right.
Secondly, how are you empowering? So we have decided 3 levels of empowerment. One is the supervisory level. Actually, my shop floor manager, how much I'm helping him, or I'm only discussing the technologies which are easy to present at the boardroom. So there are ground realities where you need to help your workmen and supervisors to see that they manage the flexibility, they manage the variability. Now on our production line, and one or most of them, 2, 3 assembly lines, on one line in a given day, 25 to 30 models are simultaneously produced on a
Right.
given shift. So humanly, it is very difficult. So to empower people with this technology. Then there are, the manager level and then the, business head level. So these are the 3 levels of empowerment we think about digitization. So more than manpower, bringing up the manpower, how you take your people on the board on all this process and keeping him as a focus is the key of this successful adoption.
Right. Quickly, Mr. Udayanaran, now since we are running out of time, we would like to have your comment on will companies in India take on more IIoT to do most of the work remotely? Quickly, your take on it.
So I think there's a mixture again. I took the opposite approach. I told everybody to stay home, and I went to the factories. I took the opposite approach. I said, "You guys stay at home, and you stay. You work." See, what we feel is, and this is, I was an analyst at Wall Street for a long time before I became a hedge fund manager, and now I'm an industrial guy. The data on productivity at home, the jury is out. I'm not too sure. I'm talking to a lot of banks in the US, Goldman's and JP Morgan, and they believe that the productivity of work at home is not equivalent to at work. A lot of this is all new. I think we've had to adapt, which is important, and I think there has to be a middle ground. I think that you cannot just say the efficiency from remote working is that there was a time when it was needed. But I think we've got to find that right mix. I don't think anybody has, in my humble opinion, has got the right mix. I have seen, I did the opposite. Like I said, I've been out, I took the passes and, we had, factories that do essential work. So I wasn't able to, I haven't stayed home probably even once, even in the second pandemic. But it's not right. That's everyone's personal decision. But my view is that efficiency, my view still is down. Okay, so we can work remotely. And I think that's good. Technology is helping with that. But I think in different industries, if I'm in the manufacturing sector, I think I'm not too sure about that. But if I'm in the technology sector, the answer is yes. So I think we need to do a bit more analysis. It's not like saying I just put the vaccine and we're all good. Time will tell which vaccine is good or not. So I think the jury's out on that. For me, I am finding that we've got to have a mix and match. The financials, the legal guys and ladies can work at home, but the industrial people got to be on the floor because productivity is not the same. I am doing my own analysis to see pre-COVID and post-COVID, and that analysis will only tell me how productive it is.
Totally agree. What is your take on it, Mr. Sharma?
I come from the business side, so I'm not actually responsible for manufacturing per se, but as we go forward, or at least on the business side, it's a hybrid model. I don't think you're going to have a completely work from home or a completely work from office environment as we move. And it's also linked to, cultural, a younger field force, the expectations that they have, and the technology is there. And it'll, it's not only about the technology being available from working from home. It's also going to be about, people, process, culture. How do you, make the whole unit work? From a manufacturing perspective, per se, if I may pick up what Mr. Gandhi said, it's about empowerment. It is about how automation will make jobs simpler, more efficient, more agile on the manufacturing, space, and safer. I think it's a combination of both. So in both sides, I think you would see hybrid environments overall. I don't think it's going to swing too much to the left or too much of the right. Balance has to be found.
Right. So do you believe, Mr. Sekhar, about the hybrid environment going forward?
That's the only way I think like it's going to work with the millennials in place, right? So you can't have a completely work from factory model, but at the same time, a completely work from home model has also not been very successful. So we'll have to find what works in the middle ground. So hybrid model is the way to go.
All right, Mr. Gandhi, what is your take on it? I guess most of the manufacturing people, those who are at the shop, must be feeling, I guess they must be missing coming to shop and work. So
for us, see, there are, as someone explained it, that these are the two areas. The work which you can do without physically present, like the trainings and administrative works, or the certain office works. Okay, the technology comes for help. But there are, when you work about new initiative, for example, we wanted to have cost saving initiatives or the value engineering initiatives. You need to be in front of the product.
Exactly.
You see that on camera. You have to feel the product.
Exactly.
And as far as the manufacturing is concerned, the manufacturing still virtually is not possible. You have to be physically there. So for us, there were two areas that we have to start the plant and how we manage these physical activities, and then other areas we manage as much as possible virtual. But definitely the efficiencies will never be same with virtual, even for office work.
Right.
The people.
All right, gentlemen. This is one of the best panel discussion I have ever had. In fact, if I may conclude this entire panel discussion, as an external force, this COVID-19 has been reshaping the way we live and work for the past 2 years. Our shopping habits and the daily activities have changed. Many of us are working from home, and virtually meetings like this are just part of the daily routine. Companies are reshaping their business processes, where the idea of digital transformation has become a necessity rather than a luxury. If I'm not wrong. So thank you once again for joining us, and have a productive day ahead. Thank you so much.